Hello, geometry. I am not here today because I am down in Madison at the State Student Council Conference. So I made this video for you. And today we're going to go over lesson 10-8. It's actually the last lesson in the chapter. And it kind of brings our circle chapter to a close with equations of circles. All right, so I'm just going to dive right in. A circle with center H, comma, K, and radius R is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. This may look a bit familiar to you. If you remember, so here's a little memory cloud, this is what we're thinking of. If you remember back to those couple of sections that we did in that random unit when we talked about equations for spheres, and in there, I told you that the center was HKJ and the radius was R. So then it was x minus h squared plus y minus k squared plus z minus j squared equals r squared. That's probably why it looks familiar. Okay, so really, I mean, the formulas are almost identical. So here's what this means. The center of your circle is h, comma, k. And then, of course, the radius would look like that. So my first, and this is really it. I have a couple of examples here to kind of show you the different ways that this equation is going to be used in this section, and then you should have some time to work at the end. Alrighty? So your first example, I'll just do right here. We want to write an equation for the circle with center 3, negative 3, and diameter 12. Okay, so this means that we have an H and a K, and then we can certainly figure out the R, because if the diameter is 12, that means that the R must be 6. So now it just becomes a matter of plugging it in. Remember, in your equation, you keep the x and the y, just like, for example, y equals mx plus b. So we're going to go x minus 3, because it's x minus h, plus y, well, minus negative 3 is like plus 3 squared, equals, well, 6 squared, so that would be 36. So there's the answer. All right. So you're going to see a couple of problems like that that will ask you to write an equation given this information. Second example, going the reverse way. The directions will say something like this. Determine the center and radius for each circle or something like that. Here's the first one. X plus 4 squared plus y minus 2 squared equals 16. All right, so all we have to do is determine the center and the radius of the circle with this equation. Okay, so if we remember, x minus h, okay? So for this one, if it's minus, then like a plus would be like minus negative. So it's going to be negative 4 for the h, and then y minus k, so the k would be 2. And remember, this right here represents r squared, so the square root of 16 is, excuse me. Oh, you'll have to tell me how that sounded on the video. Okay, center and radius. One more, same directions, part B. X squared plus y squared equals 9. Well, you're probably thinking, hello, isn't it supposed to be x minus h and y minus k? But then there's nothing there. So what are we supposed to do? Well, think about it. When there's not a number there, doesn't that mean that you're like adding or subtracting 0? So really, in a way, this is almost like saying x minus 0, y minus 0. Right? We just don't usually write that. So that means that, in this case, the center is 0, 0. The radius, remember this is radius squared, so that means that the radius is 3. Okay, so don't let that throw you off. If you don't see a number there, that just means that it's a 0. All right. Third example, I have 4 total. Graph x minus 2 squared plus y plus 3 squared equals 4. Okay, so now I'm asking you to graph a circle. Now just know that graphs of circles, the best we can do is just do a rough sketch, kind of like when we were graphing in 3D. Like the best we can do is a rough sketch. So here's what you need to do. Let me draw my coordinate plane. All right. You kind of start out like this second example up here. Determine your center and your radius. So in this one, the center is what? 2, comma, negative 3. The radius, square root of 4, 2. Okay, so when you graph a circle or you graph like a rough sketch of a circle, start by plotting your center. All right, so I want to plot 2, negative 3 on my coordinate plane. Okay. Let me put some marks on here now that I know what numbers I'm working with. Okay, so 2, negative 3 is going to be right about there. There's the center. All right. Now here's where it turns into a rough sketch. We know that the radius is 2. So off of the center, we are going to kind of put some guiding points on here so that we can then draw our circle. So if this is my center, if I go 2 up, right there, if I go 2 to the right, right there, if I go 2 to the left, right about there, and if I go 2 down, right there. So those are going to be kind of like my guidelines, and then here's where it gets a little weird because they usually end up being lopsided circles. Oh yeah, didn't disappoint. Although it's not bad. I've graphed a lot worse than that. Okay, so then that's what that circle would look like. So again, it's not an exact science. It's okay if it's a little lopsided. That's just what happens. All right. Final example for today. And this one is probably going to be like, this would be considered like your challenge problem. For this one, find the radius of the circle with equation x minus 5 squared plus y minus 3 squared equals r squared, and contains the point 5, 1. All right. So we have our equation that has the h and the k in it. Then we have this point, and guess what? Each point is an x and a y. Well, if this lands on my circle, then I can plug it in for this x and this y, and that is how I'm going to be able to find the radius. Okay, so let's plug in for the x and the y. So x is 5 minus 5 squared plus y is 1 minus 3 squared equals r squared. Well, this becomes 0. This becomes negative 2. So really, well, that's just 0 plus 4. So 4 equals r squared. Well, that would mean that the radius would have to be 2. Okay, so don't let that throw you off. All you have to do is plug in for the x and the y. And then, the rest of it is just a matter of solving the equation. All right. So the remainder of the time is yours to work on your assignment. It's not even too terribly long. Your assignment is over on the board, but here I'll put it up here too. It's going to be on pages 617 to 619, numbers 10 through 30, the evens, number 38, number 39, and then 45 through 53 all. All right. I will be back tomorrow. I can start by answering any questions about today's lesson, and then we will start our review for our test, or your test, which will be on Thursday of this week. So have a great day, and I will see you tomorrow.